Security around Russian President Vladimir Putin has been drastically tightened, and he himself tries not to leave his bunker. The Kremlin has sharply increased security measures around Putin amid a wave of killings of Russian military personnel and growing concerns about a possible coup d'etat that is brewing right now. This is stated in particular in a report by European intelligence. And paradoxically, it is Sergei Shoigu, the former Russian defense minister, who is being linked to the possibility of a rebellion, but not only him. It is reported that Vladimir Putin has stopped using his residences, he does not visit military facilities, and all his addresses are pre-recorded so as not to reveal his location in real time. Moreover, with the increased range of Ukrainian drone attacks, the Kremlin fears an assassination attempt on Putin using drones. And here is some news for you. While Moscow is preparing for May 9th today, a Ukrainian drone freely flew into the center of Moscow and crashed into a high-rise building just 6 kilometers from the Kremlin. My name is Alexei Pechi. Let's discuss this topic together. But before we start this episode, please subscribe to the channel, like the video, and leave a comment under it. Now, let's begin. So, today CNN reports that, according to a European intelligence agency, the Kremlin has significantly increased the personal security of President Vladimir Putin by installing surveillance systems in the homes of his closest associates. As part of the new measures prompted by a wave of assassinations of high-ranking Russian military officials and concerns about a possible coup. According to the intelligence dossier, all staff members, including cooks, bodyguards, cleaners, photographers, and so on, working with the President of the Russian Federation are also prohibited from using public transportation. Anyone visiting the Kremlin leader must undergo double screening, and those working with him are only allowed to use phones without internet access. By the way, this is very similar to how Iranian leaders hide. The European intelligence report states that some of these measures were implemented in recent months after the assassination of a high-ranking general in December of last year. This caused a conflict within the upper echelons of the Russian security forces. The report states that Russian security service personnel have drastically reduced the number of places that Putin regularly visits. He and his family have stopped going to their usual residences in the Moscow region and in Valdai. And, essentially, Putin now spends almost all his time hiding in a bunker. The report says that this year Vladimir Putin has not visited the military even once. But, despite such regular trips in 2025, so that no one thinks Putin is a coward, the Kremlin publishes pre-recorded videos featuring him. And in the report, it is stated that according to Western intelligence estimates, Russia's losses amount to about 30,000 killed and wounded every month. And the limited territorial gains on the front line and repeated drone attacks by Ukraine deep into Russia have led to the scale of the conflict becoming unacceptable for many Russians. And here is the most recent example. On Sunday evening, a drone struck a high-rise residential building in a prestigious area in the western part of central Moscow. And this is despite the fact that, to protect the victory parade in Moscow, Russians had already brought a huge number of air defense systems into the city.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
So there's no smoke, no burning smell, nothing on fire. Several cars are here for an unknown reason. Really nothing. A lot of debris from the building are lying around there. The police, the tow trucks came, something's going on, and a bunch of onlookers from all those buildings. Somewhere around the 35th floor on that side, it exploded.
Further in the intelligence report, there are rare details about Moscow's concerns regarding the deterioration of internal security. It also outlines potentially troubling details about the conflict that erupted within the Russian security services and military command over who is responsible for protecting the top leadership. This, it is claimed, was the reason for revising Putin's protocols and increasing the level of personal security for another 10 high-ranking military commanders. Here's where the key part begins. The report states that since the beginning of March 2026, quote, the Kremlin and Vladimir Putin himself have been concerned about potential leaks of classified information as well as the risk of a conspiracy or an attempted coup against the Russian president. He is especially worried about the use of drones for a possible assassination attempt by members of the Russian political elite. Well, the most striking conclusion concerns Vladimir Putin's former confidant, Sergei Shoigu. The intelligence report states that the dismissed former defense minister, who currently holds the position of Secretary of the Security Council, is associated with the risk of a coup d'etat because Shoigu retains significant influence within the top military command. And here Putin's purge of the elite might backfire on him. The document notes that the arrest of former deputy and close associate of Sergei Shoigu, Ruslan Tsalikov, on March 5 is seen as, quote, a violation of informal protection agreements among the elites, which weakens Shoigu's position and increases the likelihood that he himself could become the subject of a judicial investigation. I would like to note that in a statement made in March, Russia's investigative committee announced the arrest of Tsalikov on charges of embezzlement, money laundering, and bribery. Reports of corruption among the Russian military elite are frequent, but their number has increased sharply since the start of the Russian invasion of Ukraine. And Shoigu may fear that they will come after him, so he might try to strike first. Well, CNN rightly points out here that, quote, the nature of such intelligence makes it difficult to verify some details. Some of the security measures described in detail regarding Putin have already been reported before or widely assumed, including intensive searches, the Kremlin's ban on the use of smartphones, and restrictions on the movement of the Russian president. Putin still regularly appears in public. This week, he met with the leader of Chechnya, Ramzan Kadyrov, and Iran's foreign minister, Abbas Araghchi. But details of the new security measures for Putin emerged a few days after Moscow announced significant changes to the victory parade on Red Square on May 9. This year, the event will take place without heavy weaponry, such as armored vehicles and missiles. The Kremlin linked these measures to the possibility that Ukraine might attack the parade with drones. But the intelligence report indicates that the new measures were partly triggered by a heated argument between high-ranking officials at a meeting in the Kremlin with Putin at the end of last year. After the assassination of Lieutenant General Fanil Sarvarov in Moscow on December 22, 2025, allegedly by Ukrainian agents, Vladimir Putin summoned key security service personnel to a meeting. And it is reported that during the meeting, Chief of the General Staff Valery Gerasimov criticized the head of the Federal Security Service, Alexander Bortnikov, for failing to protect his officers, who, in turn, complained about the lack of resources and personnel to do this work. There's also a quote from the European intelligence report. At the end of this tense meeting, Vladimir Putin called for calm, suggested an alternative working format, and instructed the participants to present a concrete solution to the problem within 1 week. This quick solution involved expanding the powers of the Federal Protective Service to ensure the security of 10 more high-ranking commanders in addition to Gerasimov himself. I'll end this episode with a quote from CNN. The publication of the intelligence report may reflect an attempt by European officials to cling to hope, which critics say has long been their only strategy for defeating Russia in Ukraine, to wait for its internal collapse. Therefore, this information can be interpreted in different ways. As they say, I'm just passing on what I heard, I'll leave it at that. Share your opinions and conclusions in the comments below this episode. Subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, and don't forget to like. If you want to support the work of this YouTube channel, you can do so with any donation or a paid membership using the links and details in the description of this video. That's all for now. Take care of yourselves. Goodbye, everyone.